Hi, my name is Jhon, and I'm a sophomore in computer science. Here at Mines, I'm involved in crew, ship, navigators, and ACM. I fell in love with computer science after seeing the wonders that code can do. I want to welcome you to this first CS at Mines Python video. Today, we're going to be talking about variables. But first, let's start with a joke. How many programmers does it take to change a light bulb? Do you know? None, because it's a hardware problem. Haha. Okay, let's talk about variables in programming, which are really important. As you know, in math, an equal sign means that two sides of the equation have a relationship. That is, the two sides of the equation are equivalent. Such as in the equation shown here, in Python, however, an equal sign means an assignment. Thus, in Python, if we write x equals 5, we actually mean x is assigned to the value of 5. Or, for example, y is assigned to the value of x plus 7, which in this case is 12, since x is a value of 5. In each case, the variable on the left is assigned to the value on the right. Variables themselves are just names that give a place for information to be stored. Think of a variable as a box that can hold one value at a time, and that value in the box can be used or overwritten and changed to a different value. For example, if the variable radius is given the starting value of apple, we can use radius throughout our program and the computer knows that the radius is assigned to apple. If radius is assigned to another value, say 5, then the value of apple is overwritten, that is, 5 is placed in the box and apple is now gone. The same is true if another value, say 4.7, is assigned to radius. Behind the scenes, a variable really refers to a memory address, aka our box, that holds a single piece of information, aka apple. When the variable is then used in our program, the value stored at that memory address is retrieved or overwritten. Let's now look at an example of how variables are used in programming. Consider this short program and think about what gets printed if the code is executed. That is, think about what is in the X memory address or box when the print statement executes, and then think about what is in the Y memory address when the print statement executes. From the code we see, X is first assigned to a value of 10, and then X is used to assign Y a value of Y plus 2, and then X is assigned a new value. Lastly, the print statement occurs. Thus, in this code, the program would output 11, 12 for the values x and y. We hope you noted that we called the print function with multiple variables and that the system printed all of the variables on the same line with spaces in between. We hope you also noted the comma between x and y in the print statement, which indicates that two variables are to be printed. Python variables have three defining properties that you should be aware of. Let's now talk about what these three properties are. The first property is the value of the variable, such as CSCI 101, 13, or 191. In other words, what is the value in the variable's memory address or box? The second property is a type of the variable, such as an integer, which is a whole number, or a string, like a word. The last property is the identity of the variable, which is basically where the box for the variable is in memory. Typically, this identity is the address where the variable is stored in memory. That is the location of the box. You likely noticed the word object on this slide. Python is an object-oriented language, like C++ and Java, and variables in Python are basically references to objects. Now, other things are objects in Python as well, which we'll talk about another time. For now, let's talk about Python rules for variable names. When it comes to naming variables in Python, there are several do's and don'ts that you'll want to follow. Let's start with the do's. Every variable should start with a lowercase letter. Underscores should be used instead of spaces. And it is important to remember that variables are case sensitive. Thus, mom with uppercase M is a different variable than mom with a lowercase m. I know, a bit crazy, but that's the rule. Uppercase mom and lowercase mom would be two different boxes in Python. As for the don'ts, here's one that is hard for a new programmer. When naming variables, you cannot use Python keywords. Keywords such as return, for, and class should not be used. This can be hard as a new programmer, as you don't yet know all the Python keywords. As for now, just know keywords exist. And if your program isn't able to execute, it might be your issue. Also, you are not allowed to start your variable name with a number. Lastly, you are not allowed to use punctuation other than underscores. You should use snake case variable names in your programs. Snake case variables means you use underscore characters to separate the different words in variables. For example, notice the variable lowest underscore value on this slide. Phew, this is a lot of do's and don'ts in variable naming. So let's practice. We suggest you hit pause on this video and think about which of the variable names shown are valid. Alright, we hope you got the answer correct. The valid variable names are 1, 2, and 5. 3 is not valid because it contains spaces. 4 is not valid because it starts with a number. And 6 is not valid because it is a keyword in Python. If you struggle with these, we suggest you practice some more. Perhaps write out a few variable names that are valid and a few others that are not. We'll move on and talk about user input. User input is another way to assign values to variables. In the code snippet shown here, the variable name is assigned to the value of whatever the user enters at the keyboard. The user might enter Tracy or Dr. Camp or blah blah blah. The print statement following the input statement will then print, nice to meet you, blah blah blah. We hope you now have a good understanding on Python variables, rules for naming variables, and how variables are used in programming. We also encourage you to practice input and print functions. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you guys around campus.